Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening and a warm welcome wherever you are watching in the world. Welcome to the Red and Blue Review. My name is Nick Philpott. I'm your host, as always, this evening, and joining me, well, quite frankly, half the planet by the look of it, and even then Lucy's in the background. We'll kick off up the top. Ian Lyons, how are you, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. A positive weekend, isn't it, so far?
It does feel like a bit of a win, doesn't it? I don't know why, because I think the expectations were so low. Welcoming back to the show, our angel of Red Hill, East Grinstead, or wherever it is, Teresa Baker.
Evening, Nick.
How are you?
I'm fine, thanks.
Welcome back. It's been a while. How long has it been?
God, last season sometime, wasn't it?
Too long.
Too long.
Thank you.
Absolutely too long. And as always, Mr. Noble, are you well?
Evening, Nicholas. Yes, I'm very well, thank you.
Sending much love to your family, as you know.
Thank you.
Great to hear some good news pre-show. And all the way from Christchurch in NZ, good morning, good Monday morning to Tim Richards. How you doing, mate?
Not too bad, sir. How are you?
Oh, I'm all right. And in the background, we've got our Lucy, and even Jill might make an appearance at some point this evening, but you never know. Listen, before we get underway and we start talking about yesterday's game, please don't forget to ask your smart speaker to play the latest Red and Blue Review podcast. Also, folks out there, and I can see there's quite a few out there, 50 of you out there already. If you are watching on Facebook, please click the share button and share it to another Palace page. The Eagles have landed, or any of the other Palace pages. See if we can get some more viewers on there that way this evening. Please hit the share button and share it to another Palace page. And finally, if you are watching us live on YouTube, really important this, because we are now broadcasting live on YouTube on a Sunday evening, please hit the like and subscribe button, and let everybody, that obviously hits our ratings and makes everything go up the list and all the rest of it. So coming up tonight's show, we're going to be talking about yesterday's game. And thank you for all your positive comments last week about a slightly different direction we took the show last week. We did a bit of a player watch, and I've got some lovely feedback post-show. Mukhtar, I can see you out there. John Knox, I can see you. Thank you for, as I said, a really, really positive comments. Not one negative comment. So we might do a little bit of that again this evening. We're going to be talking about our new signing, of course. Another day, another new signing. And I've no doubt we'll come to that. And we are entering the last 48 hours of the transfer window. Don't forget, we have got a live transfer window show coming up on Tuesday evening, starting at about 8 o'clock. Don't know how long it's going to go on for. It depends on what sort of business we're doing during the day. And I'm going to be asking this motley crew, what do we need? What more do we need from our trolley dash? Because it's been a bit of a trolley dash, this transfer window. We've never had such a successful one, in my opinion. But it's not about my opinion; it's about theirs, and we'll be doing that later on. So, Transfer Deadline show live at 8 o'clock on Tuesday evening. Feel free to join us then, and you never know, might even get you on the show if you want to fancy coming on and tell us what you think and what your thoughts are on what's going on. Right, where should we kick? Oh, I'll tell you where we're going to kick off before we do yesterday's game. And Ian Noble, I'm coming to you on yesterday's game. I have some more good news about Palace. And this is not about Palace men. It's about our lovely ladies who have kicked off their season today. A word, if you don't mind. Dean Davenport, friend of the show, been on a couple of times, done some wonderful work for the show. Congratulations to Dean Davenport and his management team over there. Because like the first team, they've got 7 new players this season. And unfortunately, they've only had a chance for one pre-season game together. But today was their first game. They were at home against Bristol City and came out victors 4-3. So they are joint top of the league after one game. Ladies and gentlemen, bear in mind we haven't got a game next weekend. If you fancy getting along to give our ladies a cheer, pin your ears back to this. The next match is away at London City Lionesses next Sunday at 2 p.m. kickoff. Entry fee is only £8. We haven't got a game. Get yourself down there. Give them a cheer. Tell them Nick sent you, because it'll be, I'm actually thinking about going over there myself. So it'll be, I would like to make sure that we give the girls all our love this season from the Red and Blue Review and Dean, and make sure you give them as much support as you can. And there is a dedicated Crystal Palace ladies Facebook group if you fancy joining it. If you want to know the details, hit me up after the show and I'll tell you all about it. Right, Mr. Noble, I'm going to kick off with you, if you don't mind. Your thoughts on yesterday's game? I think, as Ian and I just touched on very quickly, expectations were pretty low. I think I put in the predictions league, I was one of them that put down a 4-0 defeat as a prediction. Shows you what I know. It's why I'm sitting second to bottom in the league, I think. Tell me about your thoughts in the first half yesterday.
Yeah, you're right to mention right at the top of the show that the expectations going into the game yesterday at the Taxpayers Stadium was very low. Nobody really thought. You look on Twitter for the opinions and the pessimism, and on Facebook and other social media sites. Nobody really thought that we were going to get anything out of that game yesterday. Going into that game, given that West Ham have put 4 past their 2 opponents up until now, and we haven't scored a goal yet. So I think at the into the first half, those fears were justified because we had backs to the wall a lot in that first half. West Ham had the majority of the chances. We didn't do ourselves any favours a lot of the time in that first half. We couldn't really get it forward. We didn't have a shot on target, I don't think, in the first half. And it was very much backs to the wall. The highlight for me in that first half was probably Wardy's clearance off the line. What Guaita was doing there. I think he got in a mix with both centre backs. All 3 of them went for the same ball. I can't remember who it came off. It was going in as an own goal before Wardy performed heroics, really. It took me back sort of 9 years to Wembley when he cleared off the line. And it was brilliant to see. And then, of course, West Ham put a lot of pressure on us and got their goal. Antonio playing a big part in it. And for me, I just felt Wardy switched off a little bit. If you watch it back, it was almost... they left him. He played a couple of balls in, and Wardy was marking him, but then he just left him, and he got half a yard on him, and that gave him the space to pull the ball back for, I think it was 4 nails that made it 1-0. So we go into the break thinking, this is an uphill battle, and your prediction, Nick, of 4-0 was looking on. At 1-0 down. If they turn the screw early in the second half, then we really are up against it. And I think a lot of this football is played, is psychological. You go 2-0 down, you go 3-0 down, you think, game is over. Just look at the Arsenal at Man City yesterday. I know they're rubbish anyway, Arsenal at the moment, but they got hammered yesterday because part of the reason was, they probably psychologically thought they lost the game at 2 or 3-0. So if we go 2 down, and I think it was Ben Rama had a very good chance to make it 2-0 when Guaita saved. And at that stage, you're thinking, we really are up against this. But I love the way that whenever we play at the London Stadium, we seem to attack the end where our fans are in the second half. I remember being there a couple of years ago when I scored in the last minute for a 2-1 winner. Absolute mayhem. And it was the same again yesterday when Conor Gallagher got on the score sheet. So, the equaliser was justified because we came out. Patrick Vieira probably had to lay into them a little bit. It was probably the first time in the league you've done that, because when you think about the Chelsea game, probably nothing too far adrift at half time there. We expect to be losing. Brentford were 0-0. Yesterday would have probably given them a bit of a rocket at half time, I would have thought. So you then go into that second half in a far more positive frame of mind, start playing the ball about a little bit better and creating chances. And, we would get the equaliser. Do you want me to go on, and someone else want to chip in with their thoughts on the goal and how Conor took it?
Yeah, we'll do that in a second. Luce, we just have the lineups back up again? I just want to quickly run through that. And Tim, I want your thoughts on where you thought he made a mistake at all, if any. So in goal, Guaita, same back 4. And I would like you to have a look at the centre-half pairing in a minute, Tim. Ward, Anderson, Guehi and Mitchell. Across the middle, Conor Gallagher. Ian, I'm going to let you eulogise on Gallagher in a minute. Kouate, the other Ian, MacArthur, Ayew, Benteke and Zaha. Tim, back 4, please. What do you think?
Excuse me. Mixed game yesterday. Anderson, all 4 of them had their moments of playing really well together and looking like they're gelling and quite positive for the future. But then all of them, I think, had missed passes that weren't good enough. covering that wasn't good enough at certain points. But what I did like in the end, by the end of the game, was how they and all the team didn't give up. They kept going, and like Ian said, second half it was a different team. I thought Anderson was bullied for Antonio's goal. I thought he could have been stronger for that. That was disappointing. Great finish. Take nothing away from the finish, but yeah, that was a bit weak. Ward, that clearance, that's what he's there for. He's a defender. Great job. But again, his passing in the first half, especially. I mean, yeah, he's a defender. That's his job, but was a bit flaky. What I did like was, even though they didn't all come off, Anderson's long ball, Anderson passing out of the back, almost Zidane-like quality, looking to go forward, looking to get the ball forward, not just play it side to side. So the back four, I thought Mitchell had not a bad game. A couple of times he was caught out. But like I said, he's young, he's still learning. But yeah, there were positives, but there were also some negatives, I thought.
I might come back to you later on the Anderson thing. I mean, on Joachim Anderson, he was while we were talking to him when in the lead up to he's actually signing. Some of these YouTube clips were about the way he can spray a ball around. Ian, did you want to do some hellos, mate? Lizzie?
Well, I was going to say, which Ian? We've got loads of people on again today as normal. So you've got Colin Squires, Paul Bristow, Steve Freeman, Facebook user, Damien Tom, Sean Steer, Jason Green, Summer Kearson, who's in Thailand at the minute, it's 2:00 in the morning, James Convey, Laurie Scott, Rob Donovan, Mark Corbett. Might be loads of you out there tonight, and already a load of comments. Keep it coming, Matt Batar. Hello, mate. Good to see you. Johnny Knox. Yeah, loads of people.
And one you didn't say there is Daniel Garlick. Daniel Garlick, special message to you. Pin your ears back, mate. I'm contacting you this week. You're coming on the show, mate. You're coming on the show. We want you to make an appearance. And Tim Eames is there. Right. So, Teresa. Okay.
Hello.
I would like you to eulogise, if you would be so kind, or talk to me about the midfield in particular. Kouyaté, MacArthur, Gallagher. Now, on last week's show, I don't know if you saw it, but we were talking about Kouyaté, and he has a mistake or two in him. We were also talking about how wonderful Gallagher was and what engine MacArthur's got. Your thoughts on our midfield, please?
I quite like it. Don't have anything. I mean, Guehi unfortunately missed an absolute sitter that could have won us the game yesterday. A header.
It wasn't a sitter, Teresa, surely. He wouldn't. I mean, he missed it, but it wasn't a sitter, was it?
Yeah, there was no one in front of him apart from the goalkeeper.
Teresa would have buried it.
Yeah, absolutely. But it went over the bar, and that's unfortunate. I love MacArthur's work ethic. He just runs continuously. I was surprised to see him get subbed for Schlupp, to be honest, because I like the way that MacArthur is. He keeps control of the guys. He's got that experience, that maturity he doesn't tend to panic, in my opinion.
Just my picture of MacArthur on the front of the programme last week. That's all.
Yeah, I like it. Guehi, he seems decent enough to me. Like to see him a couple more games. I think they just all need to work on their passing rate. Our pass percentage, I don't think, is brilliant. Yes, Ian.
Teresa, what do you think of how MacArthur and Gallagher in particular are playing as a pairing? Do you think there's mileage in that, or do you think that it's not working?
Oh, I think it's working. I think it's working. I think Gallagher could even push up a little bit more than he is, to be quite honest. That's what he did in the second half, wasn't it?
And he's sorry. Can I just come in? He said in his post-match interview, didn't he, Gallagher, that he wants to be the complete midfield player, and I think you saw that in his game yesterday. Notwithstanding the fact that he got 2 goals. As for Jimmy Mack, well, he's 33. The interesting article in the Matchday programme for the Brentford game, actually, which I've only just read, that he's working harder than ever at his fitness, which you'd sort of expect age 33, wouldn't you? So the thing about him being subbed is he physically probably could go on, but he's not going to be as effective given that his age. His legs are going to go at some point.
And there's a reason for that, isn't there, Lucy? And watch this. If I go like this, see if it works. 1, 2, 3. Here you go. And the reason his legs are going to go is because he just completed his 300th appearance for the club. Jimmy Mack, I take my hat off to you, mate. Congratulations on your 300th appearance. I think you've been a fantastic servant for the club. And now you guys have actually introduced Jimmy Mack, and we're talking about the midfield. I wonder if it's prevalent to start talking about Will Hughes, and we'll do Will Hughes in detail in a minute. But Ian Lyons, I'm going to ask you this first. Do you think Will Hughes has been brought in perhaps as a replacement for Jimmy Mack next season?
Yeah, I definitely. But I mean, the albino Messi always has a good game against us, doesn't he? But I'm still a bit. Listen, I think for 6 million or however little we paid for him, it's worth a gamble. I think, like everyone else here, I'm infused. I was infused by the performance last week against Brentford. I was infused by what I saw yesterday's game. We are trying to play football, something we haven't done for a long time. From the back, it's going to take time. We, as Teresa, Ian, and Tim have already, suggested, it's exposing the frailties of some of our players' abilities. I think Ward is struggling with it. He's not particularly good. I think Ayew is struggling with it. I even think Wilf is struggling with it at the minute. I think the best passers, the best passer at the minute is Anderson. Some of the balls he's actually hitting are great, and MacArthur's coming into his own. He's spending a lot more time on the ball, doing his little Cruyffs and knocking it off and everything else. But I think with this style of play, Vieira said at the very start he wants us to be brave on the ball and brave when passing the ball. And I think unless you're Man City, you're going to have a number of times where that braveness means the ball's being given away. And as long as we do it in the right areas in the final third, then you can live with that. I think getting someone like Will Hughes will help us with the link up between the midfield and that final ball into the front, whoever's playing up front. Because I think he's got that in his game. I think if there's anything he's got in his game is that little slide ball down the side of the centre back for a nippy striker to run onto. So I think now that we've got Will Hughes, I think you can see another striker, and then Nketiah type striker, a little fox in the box. Because I don't think it's the type of ball that you would see Benteke necessarily running onto. And shout out to Benteke. I thought he had a great game yesterday.
Yeah, keep your powder dry on the front line.
Yeah.
Tim, Ian, you wanted to make a comment, and I just want to come to Teresa.
Yeah, I just want to make the point that Teresa touched on Guéhi, the centre back Marc Guéhi. It was him that took the ball out of defence. He ran about 30, 40 yards with the ball at his feet, past a couple of West Ham players, to create that opportunity for the first equaliser yesterday. He was the one that passed it out wide to Wilf on the left wing for him to cross it into the box, Benteke's header, and then Conor Gallagher swivels on a sixpence and puts it in for 1-1. And where did he end up? He was on the bloody touchline, was Guéhi. If that had been parried out, he was there to tap it in. He might have actually been in an offside position, but he carried on his run. And when I saw the celebrations, I thought, what was he doing up there? And then I realised when I watched it back again, it was because he carried on his run. So that for me was really exciting. You can't really see Scott Dan doing that, or even Sacco might have done, but you couldn't really see previous centre backs doing that. So I'm really encouraged by that, and I thought he had a really good game as well yesterday. So yeah.
See, I mean, go Teresa. Sorry.
I'm not saying that Guéhi's not great. I think he is great. I think it was just unfortunately he missed that goal yesterday because it was literally a nod.
That's bugging you, Teresa, isn't it? It's bugging you, isn't it?
I'll tell you what, Teresa, while you're talking, tell me what you've dug up about Will Hughes.
Oh, okay. Well, he's 26. He's 6'1". He started at Derby, and when he was there, I know that Man United were looking at him. And then he moved to Watford in 2017. Now, Watford paid Derby £8 million for him, and they sold him for us 6. Someone at Watford really doesn't know what they're doing. He has, I had a look at his goal reel. He hasn't scored that many. He only scored 2 goals last season, and he had a couple of assists. But from what I've seen, he looks decent, and he makes these really wacky runs through midfield and feeds the ball out. And he says he takes his inspiration from Iniesta in Spain.
I don't know if any of you saw his welcome interview yesterday. I think they put it out. He's really excited about playing with a home shirt on and playing in front of the Palace fans. Tim, what were you going to say, mate?
It's just really about Maka. A couple of things struck me watching the game yesterday. Was firstly, isn't it great having a manager who actually gets off the seat and actually looks like he's involved in the game, is actually talking to the players and showing an interest. But I think the biggest thing for Maka is he's not having to cover Luca. He's got more confidence, I think, in Gregor, whatever his name is, being able to go up and down. Gallagher, sorry. And he's been freed because he got confidence that Gallagher can get up and down and do his job. And I think that's what's freeing. He's not having to hold back and cover Luca when he uses the ball all the time.
Teresa?
Can I just respond to a couple of comments and
Please
things?
do.
Yeah, he is dirty and he has picked up some cards. So I agree with that. Will Hughes, I mean. And he signed a 3-year contract.
Yeah,
three-year contract that he
I
signed with us.
noticed somebody putting out £6 million plus add-ons. Daniel thinks he's not good enough, so I think he's a bit harsh. Maybe
And
Daniel.
Paul Bristow says he's a bit of trivia. He'll be the second Will Hughes to play for Palace.
It was the first one. Don't remember the first
Will
one.
Hughes.
The first one was Will Hughes.
Will Hughes, second Will Hughes, is that right?
Yeah.
Elaborate in the chat, please, my man. Let's
Somebody tell us, when did Will Hughes previously play for Palace? Not Michael Hughes.
Not Michael. Not Michael Hughes. No. Go on.
I'll tell you what I was really surprised at from Teresa's stats is that he's 6'1". I always thought he was a titch.
Yeah, so did
No,
I.
6'1".
I always thought he was a midget.
I know she's robbed that off Wikipedia because I looked.
I'm looking at it now, guys. I'm looking at it
I
now.
saw the
No,
same
of
thing,
course I have.
and I must admit
I haven't
when
got
I
his
saw
phone
it,
number, have I?
Who knows?
we don't know, do we?
Did you
We
see
don't
his
know.
successful pass rate, though? His
No.
overall successful pass rate is 84%.
That's
Very good.
good. That is good, especially as
okay. The one player you haven't spoken about, then you lot, okay, is think about what Teresa's just said. His successful pass rate is high. The one player in the midfield that you haven't touched on about yesterday was Kouyaté. A lot of the play a lot of the turnovers, a lot of the breakdowns came about through Kouyaté's inability to complete a pass. Maybe Hughes is the right person. God, Teresa, off you go.
Paul Bristow says we had a goalkeeper called William Archie Hughes who played for us between 1950 and 1952.
Fabulous.
Nick remembers it
Good
well.
knowledge.
Shut up, you. Okay,
Brilliant.
that was after his time.
I think Will Hughes has been brought in to bolster the squad. You know, he's certainly not been brought in to start in our first team when everyone's available. You think you've got Eze, Elise to come in as well. You know, they're not all gonna play at the same time, obviously. And I think he's brought in competition for places. Riedeveld, you know, isn't getting a look at the moment. So, you know, it's a competition for places. He's a competitive midfield player. And we need that competition. We need squad depth. We need, I think I tweeted this a few days ago, we need players that can come off the bench that have equal ability to the players they're replacing. It's no good bringing inferior players off the
Can I
bench.
just refer back to what Paul Bristow was talking about, the second Will Hughes? Listen to this. Paul Bristow says, goalkeeper William, in brackets, Archie Hughes, played for us between 1950 and 1952. Is that what somebody just said?
Yes.
Yeah, we said that already.
So you've got to realise I'm doing 20 things at once here. Sorry. I think that's great info. I really feel Yeah, that just shows you what this show is all about. Me not paying attention and the audience coming up with the answers to the questions. Right, okay, so Kouyaté, nobody touched on Kouyaté. I think he's had his better seasons for us in the past. Is he struggling in this current system? Who's going to take that?
Well, I think. Go on, Lindsay. You talk. I'll talk too much. Go on.
I still like the guy. I still think he's got a lot to offer. But as I said previously, I think this new way of playing is going to expose the frailties of a number of our players. Someone mentioned earlier that Tompkins may well struggle in this, not for his defensive ability, but maybe for his passing ability and prowess. And I think that's where Kouyaté may suffer. Clearly, clubs are coming in for him anyway. Was it Besiktas were after him or something or other, something close to that? So I wouldn't be surprised to see him go if I'm completely honest.
Well, this week.
This week or maybe in the winter transfer, because I can't see him getting that much of a look in if someone like Lucas pass. Although I think Kouyaté is a better defensive midfielder than Luka, I think Luka's passing is better than Kouyaté's, and I think he'll get a chance at some stage now that he's back. I think the Albino Messi, I think he'll get a chance, and if he gets in there, then and as the guys have already alluded to, you got trying to fit Elise in and Eze in. Eze, I mean, he's going to be. We've seen that he's probably better from a deep lying midfield role than he is stuck out on the wing. So it's nice to have this problem and this issue, but I think ultimately they're going to keep their places by their accuracy of passing ultimately, and I think that's what's going to get them in the team and keep them in the team.
I think it'll be a bit of a strange move, but we're trying to bolster the squad, and to let Kouyaté go, because I think he could be a valuable squad member. Right, I'm about to do a Roy Hodgson here. Instead of going forward and doing the front line, I'm actually going to go backwards, which is what he was famous for. And I want to pick up on something that somebody said because we didn't do Guaita, okay? And Summer Kearson in the chat has said he needs to be dropped. Now, I understand last week he didn't have his best performance for us. Yesterday he was better, but still not at his best because he's still adjusting to this new performance. There was a particular pass from Joel Ward onto his right foot. This is Guaita. The pass to Guaita on his right foot, he switched it to his left foot, and there was a nervous couple of seconds when he was being closed down by Fornells, and he worried me at that stage. That's all adaptation to the new system. Dropping Guaita? Anybody? Tim, would you drop Guaita? I'm coming to you next week.
No. It's only the third game of the season. It's a new system. I don't think he likes the playing out from the back where you got the two defenders right next to him for goal kicks. I just don't think he's comfortable with that. He's still a good shot stopper. I'd like to see him catch the ball a bit more often. But again, in yesterday's game, how many actual mistakes did he make? The only one really that I can think of was that nearly own goal that was scored. So I don't think he's done enough to say, bring Butland on, to be fair.
See?
I was going to say he needs to learn to catch the ball, not punch it away. Punching it away gets him into trouble. I wouldn't drop him, but he does need to catch the ball. It's
the done thing, though, isn't it? It's just what all the goalkeepers do now, Teresa. I agree with you.
Have it.
Well,
Paul Glance is saying in the chat that he hates this playing out from the back. We put ourselves under pressure, but that's the new system. And it's something that Guaita, you can tell that he's not at his best at the moment, and it's only to that. I still think he's a better goalkeeper than Butland. Butland's a great number two, and I think he's going to be important for us going forward. But it's just a new system, and there's lots of adaptation at the moment. Anyway, let's talk about our front line now, because in a minute I also want you to talk about when everybody's fit, and I'm talking about Ayew, Eze, Elise, Milivojevic, Kouyaté, Gallagher, MacArthur. How the hell do we play them all? I don't know if we can. I don't know. That's what the squad's for. But I'm going to start down in New Zealand on the front three, because I know in our own questions crew chat, Tim, you've got some thoughts on our front three. Go.
Yeah, on recollection, after sleeping on it, I think I may have been slightly harsh on Benteke, but yeah, it was a great knockdown for the goal, for the first goal. Can't argue with that. But I was so close to throwing my phone at the TV when watching it yesterday, because how many times did he receive the ball and not have the ability to control it? Did he not hold it? Did he not lay it off properly? Especially the first half. And he chased down in the second half a bit more, but his chasing down, as I heard it called in the first half, was really, to my mind, lackluster. He just didn't really want to be there. Second half was better, but I also look back at how many chances over the last few years has he had, gilt-edged chances that he's blown, that he's not got on target. Second half was better. Wilf, the one thing I'd like to see from Wilf is that when he gets fouled, get up and keep playing, not get up, put his hands out. Because so many times yesterday he was fouled, and he wasn't a foul. You could see he was looking for it. Get up, play the game. I'm over his, I'm so hard done by acts, Put some performances in. If you want to leave the club, leave. But you've got to start actually playing the game so that people are going to come in and pay the money for you. Just stop complaining about it. But I do think he should be a central in the middle, up front, not on the wing. His clubs have worked him out. There's no point playing Wilf on the wing. When was the last time he had a good game when he played on the wing? Clubs have sorted him out. End of.
Okay, and are you?
I thought he had a better game, but his squad player. I put Will Hughes on instead of Ayew. It's Ayew. He put effort in. He runs, but when he gets the ball, I think Joseph in the past, he's a greedy, selfish player. When he gets the ball, you can see he never wants to pass it. He's going to try everything and then lose it, and again fall over, arms out. I've been fouled, ref. No, you haven't. Get up and play the game.
Ian Lyons, Tim's comments about Benteke a bit harsh because I thought he had quite a good hold-up game yesterday.
No, yeah, I agree. But I think we said last week the system currently, and I know again, it's all about progression, isn't it? We're not going to go from what we've been watching for the last 4 years to a perfect fluid system in a matter of weeks or even months. It's about progression, and yet again we saw progression. Last week, Benteke was completely isolated on his own against Brentford. This week, he was involved in it a lot more. Certainly, a lot more in the second half. Granted, that we were under the cosh a lot of the first half. He's obviously got. If he has players around him. There was a great flick on that Wilf then actually ran onto. Wilf's got to realise that if and Ayew as well, is that when the ball goes on to Benteke, to be close to him. Too many times both Ayew and Wilf isolate themselves. Well, the three of them are isolated because they isolate Benteke because they're on the touch lines, and when they receive the ball, Benteke's got to be closer to them. They just got to get used to it. But Benteke did all right. Listen, the first goal came about as a result of him sprinting and closing down Dawson of a 30-yard closed him down, which won us the ball back, and then which we scored from.
Excellent point. Excellent point.
It was great effort. He's putting a shift in, and that's all we can ask of the guy at the minute. It's not his fault. He's not necessarily getting the right service at the minute.
And he also came deep for the second goal. He was the one that sort of turned in midfield and sprayed it wide left to Wilf, who passed it into Jimmy Mack, who crossed it for the second goal. So he had a part to play in both goals, actually, Benteke.
Ian Noble, I'm going to ask you a question. See, I'm coming to you on the same point in a second. Ian, I get the distinct impression that the fan base is starting to move against Wilf and the crybaby antics. And if you read some of the comments that are going through in the chat, and folks, I'm watching every single one of them. Would you agree?
Yeah, Wilf's always had this label, hasn't he? I like everyone else, would love to see him shake it off and just get on with the game and pick himself up, dust himself down and play on. but I think it's just part of his makeup. He's 28 now. I'm not sure you'll ever change it. I'm prepared to overlook it, really, in some ways, more so than maybe other fans who are moaning about it all the time. He's still our best player. He actually had quite a good game yesterday. He was involved in both goals. They did double up on him quite a bit, like every team does. But I'd hate to see him not included. There was a rumour that he wasn't going to be included yesterday. It was just a rumour. It was unfounded. So I'm still a big Will fan. I'll overlook his faults. For everything that he's. Overall, he is still our best player.
Do you really think he's our best player? I'm hearing this banded a lot at the minute.
I'm not
seeing it on the pitch.
Well, I don't think we've seen it this season. We saw it a little bit more in pre-season. He scored some great goals in pre-season, but we haven't seen it necessarily in the Premier League yet this year until yesterday. Actually,
my point being, just how much grace does he get being the best player tag?
Yeah,
before
a fair bit. I think a fair bit. Because of who he is and because of what he's done at this club, he's given a lot of rope. Actually, I think.
I don't think you can afford that. I think you're only as good as your last game, to be perfectly honest. And I think that we're a very loyal fan base, and I think we see things through rose-coloured glasses far too much, and keep hold of players far too long. Don't get me wrong. I think he's been an excellent servant over the years, and if you take his career as a whole with us, then yeah, he's been an absolute legend. But at this moment in time, I'm not seeing what a lot of people are seeing.
Okay, well, I'm going to give you a couple of comments from the chat. Okay, if you don't mind. King's Match Diamond makes a good point. He said Wilf was emotionally on fire yesterday and was celebrating like us as fans. Okay, Jason Green, evening, Jason. I hope you're well, mate. Zaha came alive in the second half and is still a big influence on the club. And Teresi, because you haven't been here for a while, I want your opinion, please, on the Zaha antics. Okay, give it to us from your perspective, please.
I think Wilf is the best player that we've got in the club. I think the trouble is, because of his previous going down and whining, I think the refs don't take any notice of it. And I think they do miss fouls on him. And sometimes he's quite rightly justified in being upset. But a lot of that's of his own making. Like you said, if he'd actually got up after being fouled and carried on and let the referee do or speak to the captain and ask the captain to go and speak to the ref, you'd probably get a lot more respect, and the refs probably would take a lot more notice.
Well, I'm going to try and play devil's advocate here a little bit. Two quick things. First of all, don't forget there has been 2 or 3 major changes. What was that? Tim, mute, mate, please. There has been 2 or 3 changes, and the referees have been told to let the game go on a little bit. Hence why Zaha's getting fouled and sitting on his arse, and the game's passing him by a little bit. Okay. The other thing, as to your points about the best player in the club, we still don't know that. I think we have an unknown quantity, and he's currently injured with ligament damage. And I think you may well find over the next 18 months, Eze may take that label away from Zaha. And if he does, great. I mean, if Zaha's still there and Eze turns out to be an all-round better entertainer than Zaha, great. Ian Lyons.
Yeah, I just saw some comments in there saying Wilf's world class, which made me laugh. He's world class at whinging, but I don't think he's world class. Maybe in his pomp, he would have been considered, one of the top players in the league. But it's just that people are just kidding themselves if they think at the minute he is. I think when Eze comes back and Elise comes back, he should be put under pressure. And he needs to be delivering a lot more, certainly in one-on-one situations. A couple of my friends who are West Ham fans, for their sins, said to me, he's not the player everyone thinks he is, and the only thing he is consistently good at the minute and for the last 6 months is whinging.
Indeed. Tim Richards.
Sorry, but if Wilf was as world class as he likes to think he is, he wouldn't still be at the club. Someone would
Well,
have come
exactly.
in and paid money.
Someone would have, yeah, exactly.
I clearly I'm a bigger Zaha fan than you two. But I think it was Matty Cannon said in the comments just I read a moment ago that when Eze's back, it will take the pressure off him a bit because Eze has got the skill where people need to double up on him, and he can't double up on two players. That's impossible. So I think he'll have more room to do what he does well and to take people on, get crosses in, cut inside. I think he's particularly good on the left-hand side, cutting in, to score goals. And, he scored 11 goals last year. I'm telling you now, and you can play this again at the end of the season, he will match that this season. 11 goals from Wolf this season, all right?
I hope so.
Yeah, we'll see,
But
mate. We'll see.
But it's
Go on.
interesting. Someone called Mickey Philpott, I think he's the younger, more attractive Philpott.
There's nothing to do with me, mate.
His comment in the channel was the whole front line was a waste.
Well, that's constructive, isn't it?
Well, no, but that shows the interesting thing about football is all of us can watch the same game, pick up different things, and have a different point of view. Doesn't necessarily make it right.
And they're all wrong unless they agree with me, and that's how it should be. And that's
I mean, we haven't spoken about Jordan Ayew yet. Someone else said in the chat earlier, Ayew worked very hard yesterday. I think he did, and I thought he had a good game as well. Jordan Ayew yesterday, he had a right flank. I thought he linked up quite well. I mean, look, he won that free kick that nearly won us the game. If he hadn't missed the sitter, Teresa, that was Ayew won that free kick on the right hand side.
I agree. He also ran halfway up the pitch and threaded the ball through to Benteke.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a good game.
What
So I can't hold with the whole front line was complete waste. That's an unconstructive, dismissive comment that is stupid in my opinion.
Oh, controversial.
Oh.
But I'd like to know what he means by a waste, but I think it was disjointed. I think it's still very much disjointed. Listen, there's no denying that the three players we were playing up front yesterday have the ability to play a lot better. And individually, they have the bright points and the low points in the game. Benteke did a lot of running, got no service. Ayew last week did nothing but, last week did nothing but give the ball away, or the first game against Chelsea. So there are going to be highs and lows. I appreciate that may well be the fact with Wilf as well, but there has to be a way of trying to get the three of them to work a lot better as a unit, and that's probably what Mickey was just talking about. It's disjointed as a unit. If you play as a team as individuals, you're not really going to get that far, are you? If you play as a unit, that's where things start moving.
Yeah, and I think for the goals, we passed the ball for the goals. It wasn't individual moments of brilliance. Or you could argue that the finish for Gallagher's second was a moment of brilliance. But it was the build up to it was a few passes, wasn't it? We passed the ball 3 or 4 times before we got on it.
That's exactly right. I mean, the first West Ham goal was the same. It was beautiful passing.
Yeah, it was.
Couldn't touch it. Second half.
Listen, what we're going to do, I think we'll draw in a minute. We're going to draw a line on this. I want to finish up on. Funny you should mention Gallagher. We haven't really eulogised about him. Paul Glass just said in the chat, "Don't fall in love with a low knee." Okay. Well, I'm struggling not to fall in love with this low knee because this guy is a different class to what we've had in the midfield. Any of you take our man of the match and eulogise, please.
He was so good. I hope I haven't put the mockers on it, but I brought him straight into my fantasy team. There you go.
I think he's put a couple of million more on his asking price from Chelsea.
Good shout.
Yeah. Anybody else?
The thing I liked most about it was his willingness to do the dirty work as well as the pretty stuff of trying to score or trying to attack. Look how many times he was chasing back with Maka, getting his shoulder in, getting tackles in, making it difficult, and then looking quickly to turn it and go forward. And we've not had that for I don't know how long. So that for me, it was his willingness, like Maka, to do the dirty stuff as well as the pretty stuff.
My
Yeah,
biggest-
he can thread a pass as well, can't he? You know, I mean, a couple of times. I think in the first half there was one in particular down the right hand side where he threaded the ball through. I can't remember who to now, but it was a great pass. And also, he's on dead balls. He's on corners and free kicks. And we saw with the last minute the sitter that we missed. It was a great free kick, wasn't it? It was awesome. Yeah, really good delivery.
Is there any
I
reason
thought-
why we can't? Sorry, is there any reason why we can't put an offer room for him? Before
Well, I was about to
transfer?
say, Ian, before I come back to you, I was about to say we haven't taken him with a option to buy anyway, and I'm hoping and praying for with Gallagher is he maintains what he started, because he's clearly hit the ground running here. Okay, but it's a long season. Let's hope he can maintain it through the season. But be more important than that, once he starts getting the love and affection from the home fans and everything else, and he feels he feels wanted at the club, and I'm sure that's what will happen. He'll then think about it and talk to Mark Gee, don't forget that's his best mate, and say, hang on a minute, you're not going to get back into the Chelsea team coming, anytime soon. So if you go back next season, you're just going to sit on the bench. He wants to play, and he's already demonstrated first team football. Okay, he wants to play first team football. So I think, we have although we haven't got that option to buy, we have got an opportunity. If he falls in love with the club, like the club looks as though he's falling in love with Conor Gallagher, to bring it to maybe get it for a decent amount next season. Ian Lyons, you're shaking your head as though
it's not going to happen. Again, we're looking at things in a rose-coloured specs. Let's be realistic about this. Listen, I've swallowed every word I said about him coming to the club, because I really didn't think he was going to offer what everyone else was suggesting. But these first couple of games, he's been fabulous, fantastic. The problem is, as was quite rightly pointed out at the very start of this, is that we're all going to fall in love with this guy, and there is not a chance in hell we're going to stump up the 40, 50 million pound that will then be on his head for him to come to us. Whether he wants to come to us, whether we want it to come to us or whatever, Chelsea are going to be fully within their rights to say, yeah, well, okay, we'll pay 45 million for him then. And are we really going to be paying 45 million for him? I'd love to think we'd be in a position to be able to afford to pay 45 million pound for him. But we're just going, no, it's a bit rich for us. We'll just look elsewhere.
No, I think we're getting a bit carried away with this, because he's played 3 games for us so far.
Well, it's not me getting carried away. It's everyone else saying, yeah, it's fantastic.
He's got a couple of goals. I think we've got a great player for the season. Let's cross that bridge as and when we come to it.
Yeah.
Nick, you made a good point. He'll want to play first team football. If he can't see himself getting anywhere near the Chelsea 11, they win the Premier League, they win Champions League again or whatever, they're going to have a good season, Chelsea, aren't they? If they bring other players in for 70, 80 million pounds at a time, he's probably going to look at it and think, I'm not going to get near that first team. Palace, table a bid, 30, 35 million, whatever it is, and he has a good season worth. Who knows? What we've got to try and remember is we've been after him for a little while. He nearly came to us last year, but because we're only allowed one loanee from any individual club, we went for Batshuayi instead. Otherwise, we would have had Gallagher last season.
So final score at London Stadium was a highly acceptable and totally unpredicted, especially in my world, 2-2 final. Shut it. Final score, and I was delighted. Do you know what? I actually thought it felt more like a win than anything else. It was a great point. It was doubled our points for the season. We're flying up. I think we're up to 14th now before today's games. And coming up next 3 games, Ian Noble, please.
So obviously we've got next weekend's international break. The weekend after, Saturday the 11th of September, we're at home to Tottenham in the early kickoff, 12:30 at Selhurst. It's live on BT Sport, but get yourself down to Selhurst for that one. Of course, Tottenham 100% record. They come into that game. That'll be an interesting one, won't it? The following week, we're at Anfield for a 3 o'clock kickoff on a Saturday. I've bought my train ticket already, so I'm hoping to go to that too. And then the weekend after that, last weekend of September, we have to wait until a Monday evening before we play Bright Scum at home in front of the Sky cameras. Yeah, the next 3 games, Nick.
Thank you, mate. Well done. So, transfer deadline day looming. Okay, we don't normally do a transfer deadline show unless there's something good going on. Now, before we talk about what we think we need and what we think we'll get as a group collectively, I'm going to caveat what I'm about to say, because on last Sunday's show, because I went back and had a look, I made it absolutely clear to everybody watching the show that at no point have we spoken to Celtic about Eduardo. Okay, no point, and we hadn't at that time. Ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you now that discussions opened on Thursday evening. The two clubs have spoken. No negotiations have taken place, but they have opened discussions. So, ladies and gentlemen, out in Facebook land, I have a question for you. It's the same question to this four as well. Nketiah from Arsenal, young English striker who has ripped up the under-21s, England under-21s, and that probably now broken their record, I believe, in scoring. Okay, so do we go with Nketiah from Arsenal? Okay, good talent. Or do we go and also Premier League experience? Okay, he's scored in the Premier League. Or do we go with an unproven and very expensive Edouard from Celtic? Ian, Noble, you put your hand up first.
Did I? Oh, okay.
So I beg your pardon. No, so I meant Lions. I'm sorry. Lions put his hand up first. I'm sorry.
Right. Okay. It's Nketiah, not Nketiah, for a start.
Nketiah. Sorry.
Right. I know that Teresa's got her views because she would have seen him playing for Leeds, but I think he fits in more with the model that the board are trying to pursue. Young English talent that we can get and then improve and then move on. He's obviously got an eye for goal. Why Arsenal aren't playing a load of their kids, I have no idea. That's probably why they're at the bottom of the table. I think it'd be worth a punt. Certainly, if we can get him for around 12 million, I think it'd be fine. Edouard, I don't know. It's easy being a big fish in a small pond, isn't it? And there's no way that he would justify anything like he or Celtic are asking. So I think Nketiah is likely to be the one that we pursue. Whether or not we try and stiff Arsenal on the deals, we always try and like to stiff people on deals, don't we? And Arsenal themselves are being a bit funny about their demanding top dollar for their talent, and when they actually need the money. So I think Nketiah is the more likely out of the two.
Teresa.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
come to you next year.
Yeah. I have seen Eddie Nketiah play quite a few times because obviously my flatmate's a Leeds United supporter. So, but he looked really good for them a couple of seasons ago when he was out on loan. He played some fantastic football. He's really fast. Yeah, I would say Nketiah over Edouard.
Mr. N?
Yeah, I think I would agree with both of you there. The Arsenal boy over the Celtic player. But a few people are saying in the chat, this Spanish lad, Mayoral, is that how you say it? I don't know, on loan. Really interesting. He's 24 years of age. He's on loan at the moment at Roma. He's a Real Madrid player. He's on loan at Roma. He's played 31 times for Roma, scored 10 goals. That's 1 in 3. That's a really good strike rate. Before that, he was at Levante, also on loan. So we've been linked with him. He's played 31 times for the Spanish under-21s. I think he looks a great prospect. If he can make the switch to the UK and play in Premier League, I like the look of him a lot, actually.
I can't say I know too much about him. Just to follow up on what I was saying about the England under-21, between 2018 and 2021, Nketiah played 17 times. Played 17 times for the under-21s and scored 16 times, breaking a record set by... Who set that record, folks? One Harry Kane.
Oh, yeah.
One Harry Kane. So, he's clearly got an eye for goal. He has played in the Premier League. So maybe that's... don't forget, we've still got a UK loan available. We've still got as many foreign loans available. So your Mayoral guy may well happen as well. I haven't asked... I don't know anything about him personally. So Nketiah and Mayoral, maybe that will be the winning formula. But the reason I mentioned those two guys is, don't forget, we will be talking about this in great detail, I hope, on Tuesday evening. I'm hoping by the time we speak next, certainly 1, 2, or maybe 3 more have come in. My understanding is we have lots of fires in lots of irons in lots of fires at the moment, and we are talking. There's about half a dozen different people. They're not all going to become clearly, okay, but we are talking to half a dozen players, and I've had that on, and you know when I say I've got it on very good authority, you know where it's coming from, but I'm not going to name the gentleman. Ian Lyons, what do you think we need as a minimum, as a bare minimum now you've seen it in the first 2 or 3 games?
A rich, a small Middle Eastern country to buy us out. What do we need? Well, I think they're right in going for the likes of Nketiah. I think we need a small, nippy, fox in the box type of striker, something we haven't had for a while. That's for certain. I think we still need someone that can unpick a defence with a pass as well. Maybe Will Hughes is that player. I don't know. And another defensive midfielder, I think. Again, someone that can carry the ball and play it out. But I have to say, if you look at that squad, they'd have to be, a really good player to be better than some of what we have there already. I think with Elise and Eze coming back as well, we're going to see another step up in performance, and the likes of Ayew will probably lose out in that regard. So for me, the priority is probably a small nippy fox in the box.
And Nketiah does fit that bill. Somebody mentioned in the chat that he's injured, and that'll give our allocation into the into sick note into our. But he's coming back in September, early September, is my understanding. Go T.
Yeah, I was just going to say he picked up an ankle injury, but it was only a sprained ligament. Well, Eddie Nketiah I'm talking about. Yeah. And they said that he was going to be back in training 4 to 5 weeks.
Yeah. So September is what I've been told as well.
Yeah.
So I think Tim down in New Zealand, you got any thoughts on what we need as a minimum?
I like the idea or the sound of that Arsenal player. I mean, for me, young, experience of the Premier League, obviously a good goal scorer. That's a bit of a no-brainer. For me, I'm still old school, and I love to see Palace when we get up the wings and whip the ball in. And if we're going to keep playing Benteke, that's the kind of service he thrives on. So, whether Eze or the other guy when he comes back can do that, for me, that's also what we need to look at, is the ability to get the balls in from the wide.
Nobly, your thoughts?
Yeah, we haven't mentioned. I think three positions: striker, a wide player, and a left back. For me, okay. I don't think Mitchell has got a good enough for the whole season. I think he's clearly got potential. I think he's got a lot of mistakes in him. So I think he needs competition at left back. I like the idea of Ademola Lookman. I liked him at Fulham last season. I thought he caused problems for people in the Premier League. I think if he was given a chance to sign for us, I think he would. So that's the player that I would like us to see to really go for, and a striker to compete with Benteke.
So are you talking about Lookman in place of somebody like Ayew?
Oh yeah, I think he's head and shoulders above Ayew as a wide player. Yeah.
Where would that then leave Elise and Eze then?
Competition for places, really. Lookman might not start every week, but I think when Eze and Elise are back, then there's competition for places. We've gone on about Elise a bit, but don't forget he's never kicked a ball in the Premier League yet. He ripped up the Championship last year apparently for Reading, but he's unproven in the Premier League. Eze we know what he can do. But he's not back till Christmas, so I think we've got to plan for the first half of the season. Don't forget, then we've got January. We can do more in January. But my wish list at the moment is a striker to compete with Benteke, a wide player, preferably Lookman, and a left back. I don't know who that would be. And would we have Balassi back? No, guys. Sorry, we had that debate last week.
Lee Clark.
2 weeks ago.
I was just about to take that Lee Clark question. Lee, mate, we did have that in great detail last week. Would we have him back? And I think the final vote came out as something like 60-40, something along those lines. And
he's gone to Turkey anyway.
He's gone to Turkey anyway. So it's not happening. I think he would have loved to have come back, but why do we have to keep going back? He's done his day. We've got 30 million very good bucks for him. Move on. Okay, so have we got any games coming up? We haven't got any midweek games this week, have we? Isn't there something going on?
No, it's the international break, mate.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Of course it is. So on that subject, then we won't be here next weekend. We're gonna have a break. We're gonna have an early season break, and I think it's richly deserved. Somebody asked where Gel was. Well, Gel was due to be coming on, but he decided to take his good lady out for a meal. But and on that subject, Ian, Lucy, and Gel will all be missing. They're not going away together, but they're all having a break for most of September. So you're going to see lots of different faces coming on, and I think that especially people like Lucy and Ian definitely deserve to have a break, guys. Predictions, please, for the Spurs game, which is obviously 2 weeks away. Starting with Mr. Lyons first.
I think we'll lose. I'll be more than ecstatic if we get a point out of it, but I can't see us beating Tottenham.
Your thoughts in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. Teresa Baker, your thoughts on the Spurs game? It's about time we got a result against them, isn't it?
Yeah, we're at home. It's a 2-1 win to Palace.
Hey.
Cool.
And Summer Kearson's just said Spurs 1-1.
Oh, and by the way, it's the under-21s on Tuesday
There you
versus Sutton United in the EFL.
go. There you go. Get yourselves over to Gander Green Lane, because I knew there was something going on, which is why I asked the question. Mr. Noble, your thoughts on the...
Yeah, I'm going with Teresa. I'm going for a 2-1 home win. It's about time we beat them. And I think the last time we beat them, it might not be the last time. I remember we beat them at home in January in 2015, I think. It was Pardews' second game or first league game. But yeah, we're due to beat them. We need it. So we're due a win. We need a win. So I'm going for a 2-1 home win.
And what about down in the sheep disturbers down in New Zealand?
1-1.
You're going for a
If
draw.
we're lucky.
In the chats, Summer's gone 1-1. Claire Davis, evening darling, she's gone a loss 2-0. Keith Diamond's gone 1-0. Joan Wells has said draw. Tom Clark Samuel, thank you for your work, mate. 2-1 win he's gone with. Paul saying we're going to lose 1-3. Mukhtar saying it's a draw. Lots of varying. John Knox is saying a loss as well. It's always 1-0 to Spurs, says Laurie Scott. Lots of comments. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we're going to draw a line under it there if you don't mind. Teresa, great to see you again and great to have you back. Come and see us again very soon, I promise.
I will, I promise.
Ian's, both of you, top lads as always. Mr. Noble, I'm going to be leaning on you quite a lot during September because I've got lots of gaps in the schedule, as you know. I hope that's okay. No?
You might want to renegotiate.
I couldn't hear you. Broke up then, Nick.
I'm just going to ignore him. Tim Richards, as always, mate, thank you very much. And Lucy, down behind the scenes, thank you for everything you do. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a little breakdown. We're going to get our first win against Tottenham. Remember, you heard it here first. We've got lots to go talk about on Tuesday evening. Hopefully, come and join me. And I don't know who's going to be joining me on the show on Tuesday evening, but we'll have people jumping in and jumping out, no doubt, all evening. Depending on how we're getting on, we might even leave it as a 3-hour show up right until the close. Is it 11 o'clock he shuts down on Tuesday night? I believe it is.
I think it is.
Yeah.
I mean, we might, without tempting fate, Nick, we might even get the viewers in. Might just throw the link out and get people to come on and give us their thoughts and stuff.
Right, the chat will be running for 10 minutes after the show, ladies and gentlemen. If you fancy popping on and talking about our transfer, how we've done on the transfer, say yes, Nick, in the chat, and we will ping you out a private link to come and join us on the show. And you can come and do what these four are doing. If you fancy it, tell us in the chat right now. Okay, and come and join us on the show, and we'll have a bit of a giggle and get to know you a little bit. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Nick Philpott. This crew, I can't do it without them. On behalf of us all, please stay safe, take care, and we'll see you soon. Good night, everybody. Good night.
Cheerio.